What's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Giant Soldier of Stone deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this one for you guys because this deck was actually suggested by one of my patrons, Izzy. And this deck is an extremely interesting deck that I've included all sorts of spicy tech cards in this build for you guys. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. And definitely give Izzy some love down in the comments down below for suggesting such an awesome deck. So let's get straight on into this one, guys. So first off, we're playing 3 copies of Giant Soldier of Stone. This card is an extremely nostalgic card and such a cool card to actually base a deck around. And this card is actually one of the strongest original normal summons in the entire game, coming out at 1,300 attack points and 2,000 defense points, which back in the day was insane, but this card is an awesome combo piece in this deck. We then play 2 copies of Sentry Soldier of Stone. This card is great to be able to use as a combo piece because if all monsters you control are rock monsters, minimum 1, while this card's in the graveyard, you can special summon this card, which you can only use its effect once per turn. We then play 3 copies of Emancipator Researcher. Researcher is really cool to be able to play in the deck because this card is actually very interesting for this build. As if you control a rock monster, you can actually special summon this card from the hand, and during your main phase, you can actually excavate the top 5 cards of your deck, and if you do, you can special summon one excavated level 4 or lower non-tuner rock monster, and then you place the rest on the bottom of the deck in any order. But since we're playing a control build, this is the only Emancipator monster we're actually playing in the deck because this card helps us make either an Naturia Beast or Naturia Barkion, and then we back it up with all of our awesome tech cards to give us basically some infinite negates for either spells or traps, which is crazy powerful. But this card can basically be a 1 card Naturia Beast or Barkion depending on what we excavate. We then play 3 copies of Barrier Statue of the Drought. Barrier Statue of the Drought is great to be able to use because this card has the ability that neither player can special summon monsters except for earth monsters, which is a crazy powerful effect, especially when you can excavate this card off your copy of Researcher, and it's very easy to back up with all the other tech cards we're playing in this build. We're then playing 3 copies of Primite Dragon. Primite engine is so cool, and I absolutely love this engine because it actually works since they're made out of rock, which is so cool for the Giant Soldier of Stone. But this card is awesome because if this card is normal summon, you can actually set a Primite spell or trap directly from your deck, which helps us get to a bunch of really cool cards in this build to instantly bring them out, like Lordly Load, Drill Beam, or even Scream, and this card is such a good normal summon in the build. We play a single copy of Primite Imperial Dragon. This card is a really interesting boss monster in the deck that cannot be normal summon, and it has the ability except by attributing a normal monster, but it cannot be normal set. And during your opponent's main phase quick effect, you can actually reveal this card in your hand, and immediately after this effect resolves, you normal summon a Primite monster, which will usually be itself. Also, it has the ability that if this card is tribute summoned, you can apply the abilities in sequence to negate the effects of all face-up monsters that your opponent currently controls, and then banish all monsters your opponent controls with the same type or attribute as a normal monster in the graveyard, which is going to be Earth in this deck, which is actually one of the most supported attributes in the entire game, which is a really interesting thing about this deck. So, that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get in to the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Pot of Prosperity. Pot of Prosperity is great as a 1/0 in the build to basically just help us dig into the deck for the exact card that we need. We then play a single copy of Attack the Moon. I absolutely love that we can actually play this card in this deck. This card is hilarious. But this card has the ability that once per turn, when the battle position of a rock monster you control is changed, you can target a spell or trap your opponent controls and destroy it, which is a pretty cool effect, but you guys know we had to play at least a single copy of this card in the deck. We then play a single copy of Primite Roar. Primite Roar is really good in the build as a 1-up to instantly bring out a copy of Giant Soldier Stone to our side of the field by paying 2,000 life points and declaring its name. So this card is really good as a 1-up in the build, but you have to control no monsters when you activate this card, or you don't get the free special summon off this card's effect to instantly bring out Giant Soldier Stone. We then play 2 copies of Drill Beam. Drill Beam is insane to be able to basically play Drill Beam control in this deck, as this card is able to reveal a Primite card or a null monster in your hand, except a copy of Drill Beam, or if you control a null monster or a level 5 or higher Primite monster, except token, you can actually activate this card without revealing a card to be able to target a face-up card in the field, negate its effects if you do banish it. Also, during your main phase, if you control a Primite monster, you can actually set this card from the graveyard back to your side of the field, but you only use each effect of this card once per turn. We then play 3 copies of Lordly Load. Lordly Load is really good as a 3-up in the build to basically just use this card to search out our Primite cards. We can also use this card to summon our copy of Giant Soldier Stone directly from a deck and give it a little bit of a boost, which is really cool to be able to do about this card, as this card is a great ability that null monsters and Primite monsters you control gain 300 attack for each null monster with a different name in your graveyard, which is a pretty cool ability to be able to use. We then play 3 copies of Scapegoat. Scapegoat is awesome because they're actually Earth. So you can instantly bring these cards out to your side of the field during the opponent's turn by using them as a quick play spell, because you never want to summon them during your turn. So it actually prevents you from special summoning, which is insane, to just not be able to summon any other monsters this turn, which is crazy. But we can instantly bring these cards out to your side of the field during the opponent's turn. Then on the follow-up, we can actually link them away to bring out 2 copies of Mrs. Radiant to give our copy of Giant Soldier Stone 1,000 extra attack and defense points, which is insane, while also bringing out 2 copies of Mrs. Radiant, which is so cool. But this card is great in the build to be able to use because it's just so good to be able to use defensively or offensively to be able to link summon. We then play 3 copies of Moon Mirror Shield. Moon Mirror Shield is really good in the build to be able to use, and one of the pivotal cards of this deck, because this card helps us out so much to protect our copy of our Drought, which is really cool to be able to protect our Barrier statue with the ability that if the equipped monster battles an opponent's monster during the damage calculation, the monster's attack and defense become equal to the attack and defense, whichever is higher, the opponent's battling monster plus 100, meaning your monster is never going to get destroyed by battle. It is always going to have 100 attack points more than your opponent's card. Plus, it's really funny to go with Attack the Moon. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to start with a single copy of Goes in Match. Goes in Match is great as a 1-of in the build because each player can only control 1 attribute of monster, which we're only ever going to control Earth in this deck anyway, so this card is awesome to help us lock down our opponent. We play a single copy of Primite Scream. Primite Scream is a great counter trap in the deck. It's basically just stop your opponent in their tracks with the ability that when your opponent would normal or special summon a monster, well, they control a null monster or level 5 or higher Primite monster, except a token, negate the summon, and we do banish that monster. Also, during your standby phase, if you control a Primite monster, you can set this card from your graveyard but banish when it leaves the field, actually giving you a double negate out of this card. We then play 3 copies of Storming Mirror Force. Storming Mirror Force is great to help us protect our plays and our monsters like Giant Soldier of Stone, because he will withstand a gust of wind, but our opponent's monsters will not. We then play 3 copies of Solemn Strike. Solemn Strike is really good to be able to play in the deck because when a monster would be special summoned or a monster effect is activated, you pay 15 or life points to negate the summoner activation if you destroy it, which is really good. We then finally play 3 copies of Solemn Judgment. As long as you have half to pay, you're still in the game, so this card basically just says no to anything, making this card a definite 3-of in the build. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to start with a single copy of Giant Soldier of Steel. Giant Soldier of Steel is a really cool 1-of in the deck, and it's an awesome retrain of Giant Soldier of Stone. With the ability, this card is unaffected by other monster effects, and once per turn, during either player's turn, you can detach an Exilium material from this card and it gains 1,000 defense until the end of the turn, and if it does, you take no effect damage from your opponent's monster effects this turn, which is a pretty cool ability that you just don't take effect damage for the rest of the turn. We then play a single copy of Gorgonic Guardian. This card is awesome as a 1-of in the build to be able to make extremely easily in this build. This card is actually a negate with the ability that once per turn during either player's turn, you can actually detach a material from this card, target a face-up monster opponent controls, and its attack becomes 0. And if it does, its effects are negated, and these effects last until the end of this turn, and once per turn, you can actually target a monster on the field with 0 attack and destroy it, which is a pretty cool ability. And play a single copy of Break Sword just in case we need to pop a card on the field. Play a single copy of Zeus so we can board wipe the field just in case we need to. 1 copy of Typhon. Typhon is awesome to be able to use this card to bounce cards off the field and be a skill drain for 3,000 higher attack point monsters. And play a single copy of Naturia Beast. Naturia Beast plus either a copy of Giant Soldier of Stone or Sentry Soldier of Stone, and your copy of your Adamantipator Researcher turns into a Naturia Beast, which when you back it up with cards like Solemn Strike and Solemn Judgment, it's very easy to be able to protect this card, especially when you put a copy of Moon Mirror Shield on this card. It's going to be extremely difficult for your opponent to deal with, and sometimes this deck just turns into Naturia Beast control, which is crazy how powerful that actually is still to this day. And you can even summon your copy of your barrier statue alongside this card to basically just completely lock down your opponent. We then play a single copy of Naturia Barkion. Barkion just negates traps in certain matchups, and you can actually, funny enough, use your copy of your barrier statue plus your copy of your Adamantipator monster to be able to make this card because it's Earth and we're special summoning an Earth monster. We then play a single copy of Avermax. Avermax is just a pretty good option in the deck that you can summon, and if you make it with a copy of IP, you'll basically be indestructible, which is really cool to be able to do. Play a single copy of Asa because it is an Earth-focused deck, so this card is a pretty cool 1-of. Play a single copy of SP to basically just use this card as a double interruption. 2 copies of Mrs. Radiant, which is actually one of the most powerful cards in the entire X deck, because when you summon 2 of these out using Scapegoat, you're actually going to give your copy of Giant Soldier Stone 1,000 extra attack points, boosting it to 2,300 attack points and 3,000 defense points, which is insane. We then play a single copy of IP. IP is great to help you summon your copy of Mech Knight Crusadia Avermax or SP during the opponent's turn. And then finally, we play 2 copies of Ling Spider because our main boss monster deck is actually a normal monster, so you can easily use this card in the build. If you do draw into 2 copies of it, you can normal summon 1, link it away for your copy of Ling Spider, special summon out the second one with your copy of Ling Spider, and just gives you some really cool options. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed. This deck is very interesting, and I never thought I would build a deck based around that Giant Soldier of Stone, but hey, it's an Izzy request. You guys know he's famous on the channel, and then he actually comes up with some of the most insane ideas for me to create, which is so much fun. So definitely give Izzy some love down in the comments down below, and that is going to do it for this one, guys. Definitely tell me what you think of this deck down in the comments down below, but that's going to do this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell next so you can come for our notifications. We'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.